Hello friends, good afternoon. Welcome to the Hindu News Analysis. Today is 23rd of May 2018. Myself, Sagabi Ashwath. I'm a tutor at Shiksha IAS Academy. I teach psychology, Indian economy and ethics. So as usual, the quote for the day: you can do anything if you have the enthusiasm. That's what Henry Ford says. So all that you need is enthusiasm, which is generated, of course, if you only have interest, right? So you have to engender interest. With that comes enthusiasm, and with that at your disposal, you can achieve anything, right? All right. So what do we have in store today? So police firing claims 10 lives in Tamil Nadu. So anti-starlight protesters. So they have been on the streets protesting against the coming up of Starlight Copper, Vedanta Group copper smelter unit, right? So people have been agitating against it. And it almost began 100 days ago in Tuticorin, and they wanted to close this Starlight plant. Now that police have cracked down, this state government has cracked down on the protesters, and Section 144 of CRPC was imposed, and there was lathi charge and burst tear gas shells. These details are not important. Just remember that there was a huge protest and people have died, right? They were protesting against the sterilite industry, right? So that is one part. The second part is NIFA toll has now gone up to 11, right? So that is something which is haunting most of the people today, the NIFA virus, right, where people have died. It was only 4 yesterday. Now the toll has raised to 11, and we have discussed quite a deal about the NIFA virus yesterday. I think it would be better for you to go through that again. So Parameshwara, this is something related to Karnataka politics, and again not required. This is also not required. Then opportunities page, nothing in there. Here north, nothing. And then you have the west part, nothing. You need not go through these things again. And then in the next part, habitat loss may have triggered NIFA outbreak. This is something which you need to look out for. NIFA, anything related to NIFA, I would suggest you to keep track of what is happening, right? So deforestation and loss of food resources bring bats closer to urban areas, and because they have come closer to urban areas, they have spread the virus, NIFA virus, in the urban areas as well. That is something which is probed into. So that is why you have what is called as may have, and once the concrete results do come out, the WHO is saying that there is a strong evidence that the emergence of the bat-related virus infections is probably because of the deforestation and loss of food resources for these bats. So if that is true, there can be a question asked whereby why did the NIFA virus spread to the urban areas? So two reasons can be deforestation and loss of food resources. So this is something which you can look out for as as you go forward, or as this news gets published again and again. So as the flying fox is nothing but the fruit bat habitat is destroyed by human activity. The bats get stressed and hungry, and their immune system gets weaker. Their virus load goes up, and a load of virus spills out in their urine and saliva, and this causes the spread into urban areas as well. Okay. So the problem is that now that bats are spreading this virus, there might be calls by people to knee-jerk reactions by people to bat culling, right? Killing the bats altogether. So it may seem an easy solution, but studies warn that instead of reducing the outbreak of such diseases, it could cause even more ecological damage if you go ahead and do the culling part, right? So that is something which is given here, right? So forest fragmentation is one problem, deforestation is another, loss of food resources, hunting bats for food also bring them closer to humans, and it is often important in causing the disease transmission, right? So these are all the reasons. So deforestation, loss of food resources, and then forest fragmentation, hunting bats for food, right? These are all the problems which have led, which have driven these bats closer to the urban areas. All right, next, you have nothing in this page. So Rohingya entering India through Bengal, this is something which you need to look into when you have more details about it. This is not something which is put out by the government itself, it is the police who have said it. So there is no vindication of this fact yet. All right. Equality causes premature deaths. IITC EED study in 11 North Indian cities says pollution is a major reason for early mortality in most of the people, right? So this is not pan-India, or this is not something which actually could be asked in your question paper. So I would suggest you not to go through this. Not required as of now. NHRC notice on killing a Dalit man, not required. And then opposition strategy, not required. And then here, trade in tokay geckos continues in Bengal. What is this tokay gecko, right? So I would suggest you to go through this, what this tokay gecko is all about. So tokay gecko is a lizard species with orange spotted blue-gray skin and is protected under the Schedule 3 of Indian Wildlife Protection Act, right? So this is the data point you need to take down. And the International Day for Biological Diversity was celebrated recently, and the Border Security Force has seized 3 tokay geckos from West Bengal's districts. So they were carrying the geckos in mesh cages, and where they were intercepted. And in fact, this is a smuggling. This contributes to smuggling. So why is it so? It was because the spurred smuggling, that is that tokay gecko were brought under the Schedule 3, but it still continues. So those in the Schedule 3 of your Wildlife Protection Act cannot be smuggled, right, in or out. So that's something which has been in news. So I would suggest you to just make note of these pointers. Okay, so Schedule 3 Wildlife Protection Act, a lizard species with orange spotted blue-gray skin, right? All right, next, the fading appeal of soft power. This is something which is related to how India has moved away from what it was doing earlier, right? India's decision making when it comes to foreign policy has become something called as post-normative turn. It has taken a post-normative turn. It is to say, we had some norms or principles which we used to follow while we had this, while conducting the foreign policy, while we dealt with other countries and international fora. But now we are past that, principled position, right? We are not sticking to certain principles, age-old principles, but what we are doing now in this post-normative period is that we are concentrating more on real politics. What do we gain? Rather than sticking to principles, we are going for what do we gain from this, so as to say, this way of foreign policy or that way of foreign policy. That's what we are doing. So that's what this is all about. So this can be seen as to how India conducts in relation to Israel-Palestine issue, how it has moved closer to US, and it has sent Russia a bit farther away, with whom we had always had a cordial relationship. In fact, we were more like allies, and now that we have driven Russia a bit away, they have become closer to Pakistan, in that they are selling defense material to Pakistan as well. So now US has replaced Russia as the major defense provider, right? The defense equipment provider for India. So these are all the things happening. And when it comes to when it comes to that is about Israel and US. Apart from that, how are we dealing with our neighbors? When it comes to SARC, for some reason New Delhi sees there is no future for it. So we have mistreated SARC in a way, and it is ironic that SARC and NAM both are India-centric institutions. These have been sidelined by us with some conscious efforts. It is not a good thing. Yes, we have neighborhood first as our policy, but to put India in a strong position across the world, the normative positions we have taken or principles which we stood for, that is why most of the countries respected us, right? All these years. Now we are moving towards realpolitik, where everything is, every foreign policy decision is based on the return, right? It's only based on the returns rather than policy, rather than anything else, rather than anything related to principles. So this is something which we are seeing now, which is driven only by self-interest. I don't think this could be a good way forward. We have to be, yes, we are aggressive. Post-normative India is aggressive, and even the hollow invocations of Gandhi and non-violence have become less than routine now. And worryingly, the reliance on aggression as a foreign policy tool seems to have a strong domestic political origins. It's a mistaken belief that force can overcome resistance, right? So this is something, this is the position we are in, right? One part is related to your how we have changed our position related to India's relationship with Israel. How we are dealing with the refugee problem is another thing, right? And that is a refugee problem from Myanmar, as well as what we are doing with the Citizenship Amendment Act. So that's mentioned in this paragraph. And then when it comes to non-alignment, how we are fared, we are moving towards Israel, that's mentioned here. And then how we are going closer, right? How we are growing closer to US, and how we are pushing away Russia. In this case, we have had a principled position when it comes to Palestine, but today we are growing closer to Israel, probably because of the defense partnerships we have forged between the two countries. And then you have SARC, NAM. These are the things which you can argue about and say that India is not making a good case for itself when it comes to foreign policy decisions, right? In the shorter run, it might seem great, the realpolitik, but in the longer run, probably you will create more of countries which are on the other side, that is enemy countries, also as to say the countries which are indifferent to your country, right? So by practicing realpolitik, that is the problem. You're going to alienate some of your friends for sure. And next you have the NIFA test. Age-old practices of infection control are crucial. So about this we have talked a lot yesterday, I would suggest you to go through this. And after re-election, this is related to the Venezuela elections. I don't think you need to go through this at all, right? Next, we are very interested in joining exercise Malabar. This is something Australian Minister for Foreign Affairs has said about the quadrilateral security dialogue. The quadrilateral security dialogue is between India, Japan, right? India, Japan, South Korea, and Australia. That's the quad we have. The quad is India, Japan, US, and Australia. That's the quad we are talking about. But the problem is Australia has always, tried to stay away from this quad, fearing the repercussions or the recrimination from China. So they have always feared and they stayed away from it. But now they have said that they are interested in joining this exercise Malabar, right? So let's see how things pan out. Even India did not show any signs of agreement when it comes to admitting Australia into this Malabar exercise, right? Probably because the Indian government felt that by keeping Australia away from the exercise, they could grow closer to China and get things sorted out, right? This is something which we need to look out for in the coming days, how things pan out, right? There are several questions answered. I would suggest you to just give a reading and pick points here and there, right? Very generic points everywhere. So I would suggest you to just give a reading. If you are not giving a reading, then also it's okay. When you have a full-fledged article on India-Australia relations, then obviously this point will be put across related to exercise Malabar, right? Then you can take note of these things, right? And then a ceasefire will work only if Pakistan joins it. So this is something which is not required for us, and then not required. So this is just a data point. So small farmers and marginal farmers only get 30 to 40% of the loans which is meant for the sector. That's what the RBI report says. So geographical distribution of agricultural loans outstanding as of 2017, right? So marginal farmers get 42.2% of the loans in 2016-17, and big farmers get maximum portion of the loans, right? This you have to remember. So agri loans outstanding, where do you have maximum agricultural loans outstanding? Look at this semi-urban region. That's where you have maximum outstanding loans, and then you have rural areas, the second highest, and then urban, metropolitan. This is something interesting, right? So semi-urban areas have more outstanding loans as compared to rural when it comes to agricultural loans. So this is a point you need to take note of, right? You have a natural tendency to mark rural areas to have more outstanding loans when it comes to, as a percentage, in percentage terms, more in rural areas. That's what you would probably mark, but semi-urban areas have more outstanding loans in terms of percentage, right? Next is police fired under unavoidable circumstances, not required. Next is I don't think you have anything related to which is worth noting down. Summit with Kim may be delayed. So this is we had a very positive outlook towards that there could be a peace deal brokered between North Korea and South Korea, and the armistice which was signed way back in the 1950s could be changed into an agreement, right? Peace agreement or peace accord after the meeting of Trump and Kim Jong-un. But now things look bleak, right? But the promise is that yes, someday there is going to be meet, right? The problem is that North Korean leader has been saying that I would not attend the talks if there are some preconditions to the talks, right? However, US insists that the talks should invariably contain something related to nuclear disarmament, right? So this is something both the countries have to agree upon. There has to be some reconciliation process, and the meeting has to go ahead, right? Next is okay, nothing here. So Iran warns US of a strong response. This is again related to the reimposing of the sanctions by US on Iran after US has pulled out of a deal, the nuclear deal, which was signed way back, right? Signed way back by the P5+1 countries. So this is going to cause problems in the Middle East in the coming days, right? Not required. Okay, NCLAT order status quo on SR Steel. This is you need not go through what this case is all about. You have to know what is NCLAT, National Companies Law Appellate Tribunal. So NCLT gives the verdict as to what is to be done with the companies which have defaulted, and NCLAT is an appellate body above NCLT, right? If you're not happy with the NCLT order, you go to NCLAT, right? And all these institutions to resolve your NPA problems, right? Insolvency problems, you have the code called IBPS, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, right? So won't sell AI if we don't get right price. This is what the Civil Aviation Secretary has said. So Air India is being sold to a private player. The government is saying that until and unless we feel that the price is great for Air India, will not be selling this stake, right? So the government will decide a floor price for Air India, and only after that they are going to sell it above that floor price. Okay, that's what the government is saying. So that's about it for the day, guys. Hope you liked the video, right? And thank you for watching. Have a nice day, right? Thank you.